Next on this special edition of Currents News, a New York City March for Life, and leading the way, a survivor of abortion. It's a big hit at the box office. The movie Unplanned tells the true story of a Planned Parenthood director turned pro-life advocate. 40 days to serve 40,000 meals. A Catholic organization is tackling a big mission during the Lenten season. Plus, a bowl of rice making a world of difference. A global campaign to feed the hungry. The news starts right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. Welcome to this special edition of Currents News. We're highlighting some of our most memorable stories recently reported by our Currents News team. We begin with the fight for the unborn life that took place in the streets of New York City. Currents News' Emily Druby reports.
God had another plan, didn't he? Amen.
Melissa Oden defied the odds.
I was actually aborted and I survived.
41 years ago, doctors performed a failed saline infusion abortion on her birth mother.
They believed that when I was delivered in the final step of the abortion procedure that it had been successful, but I was accidentally born alive.
Oden lived, and now she dedicates her life to fighting for those who might never have a chance at life.
Let's do something to address the root causes that lead women to abortion.
Oden and hundreds of other pro-life activists, including many Knights of Columbus and members of the Diocese of Brooklyn, gathered in downtown Manhattan for the annual International Gift of Life Walk, a powerful march focused on preserving life from conception to natural death. New York has long been known as the abortion capital of America. In fact, Abort 73, a Christian organization that collects data on abortions, estimates that 239 children are killed every single day in the state. Pro-life activists heartbroken by the high rates and by new state laws that severely limit restrictions on abortions. Activists like Catherine Donahoe now doing everything possible to push back. Donahoe says events like this walk send a strong message.
To let people know that all of New York doesn't follow suit with our mayor and our governor, who signed into Bill RHA that allows abortion up until the day of the baby's birthday. Okay, so now we're praying for the, to save the babies.
Event organizer Dawn Eskew adding the walk is a way to empower those with anti-abortion views who might be afraid to speak out.
This is one way to help encourage New Yorkers. You need to speak. If you can't speak about pro-life issues in the public or try to educate people in the public, we will never advance.
In downtown Manhattan, Emily Druby, Currents News.
Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio is also mobilizing support for the lives of the unborn. The Brooklyn Diocese is joining the international 40 Days for Life campaign during Lent. The bishop's action is in response to New York's abortion law, legislation that removes restrictions on the deadly procedure even in the third trimester. Bishop DiMarzio is encouraging prayer, fasting, and education. The Brooklyn Diocese has published resource materials relating to the 40 Days for Life online. Go to dioceseofbrooklyn.org and click on the Marriage and Family tab. The pro-life movie Unplanned is being well received by audiences. Last weekend's opening brought in more than $6 million at the box office, but there's a campaign being waged against the film. Currents News' Emily Druby has that story.
As Nancy Davies heads to watch the pro-life movie Unplanned in the theater, she's thrilled to know many other people are too.
I'm very happy that it's doing so well. I think so many women who really haven't known what abortion is are wanting to see it.
The film is based on the true life story of Abby Johnson, a former Planned Parenthood clinic director who became a champion for the pro-life movement after witnessing an abortion.
I saw it. It was like it was twisting and fighting for its life.
The film is receiving positive reaction from viewers. It brought in an impressive $6.1 million during opening weekend, despite only being shown in about 1,000 theaters across the country. The high number impressive, considering the amount of adversity the film has faced. First, the flick received an R rating, which producers unsuccessfully tried to change. Then the film's Twitter account was briefly suspended during opening weekend. Further, the producers claimed tens of thousands of their Twitter followers disappeared for no known reason. And many TV networks also refused to televise advertisements for the film. Even inside the Kips Bay AMC, where the movie is being shown, there was a lack of advertising for the film, including in the portal where customers buy their tickets. But still, the movie is receiving rave reviews from moviegoers. While leaving the theater, Fran Collins suggested everyone should go see it.
And I enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw it.
So does Kathleen Black, who works for the Bridge to Life, a Catholic pregnancy support center in Queens.
I think if people see it, again, no matter what the age, especially the younger the better, that they will actually find out what the truth really is about abortion.
Black and other members of the Bridge to Life, including Catherine Donahoe, say they were touched by the film.
The one scene that really was very moving was when the 6 women were in the waiting room after their abortions, and the looks on their faces and how they were treated like cattle.
Unplanned is showing throughout the day at both AMCs in Kips Bay and Times Square. In Kips Bay, Emily Drewby, Currents News.
Catholic Relief Services is helping the stranger among us through the many humanitarian programs that they offer. Each year during Lent, CRS's Rice Bowl program gives all Catholic parishes, including those in the Brooklyn Diocese, an opportunity to help the less fortunate at home and worldwide. It's a charitable initiative that puts faith into action. CRS Rice Bowl combines the Lenten practices of praying, fasting, and giving alms to help people all over the world, one bowl of rice at a time. Catholic Relief Services sends cardboard rice bowls to parishes or schools. The donations deposited inside are used to help feed the hungry around the world and in dioceses throughout the United States.
As Catholics, we are a both-and people called to support people who are hungry here and around the world, because we believe that every single person is a child of God. Every person has human dignity and so is worth supporting.
People like 16-year-old Annette in Uganda, a refugee and orphan from South Sudan who cares for her 3 younger siblings. Each day she struggles to cook, clean, and provide water for them in very unstable conditions. And then there's Christian, who fled Sri Lanka to India during the war. He returned home to find his family's farm destroyed. CRS helped him, his wife, and 3 children restart his farm so they could take care of themselves. Since beginning in 1975, nearly $300 million have been raised during each year's 40 days of Lent. For more information on the work of Catholic Relief Services, visit their website at crsricebowl.org. St. Xavier High School in Brooklyn is breaking down barriers in the study of new ways to save the environment. The students are learning in a state-of-the-art lab how to master the science of growing plants without soil. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports.
1, 2, 3. A new science classroom, nourishing young minds and the environment. At St. Xavier in Park Slope, Brooklyn, the all-girls Catholic high school unveils its hydroponic lab.
It's like a really environmentally friendly way to farm without taking up much space and bringing fruits and vegetables to kitchens in urban areas all year round.
The hands-on technology involves soil-less planting to grow everything from spinach and lettuce to cucumbers and eggplants. But the lab teaches more than farming.
The hydroponic lab has really made everybody kind of come alive in a sense, and it's really brought an environment of not just awareness of what's going on in the world, but also like fun.
We learn about the environment and how it affects our daily life, and it also talks about climate change and how to prevent it from happening or how to decrease it.
And it echoes Pope Francis's mission to care for God's creations. Brooklyn Auxiliary Bishop James Massa blesses the lab, sprinkling the well-lit space with holy water. He says the project follows the Holy Father's encyclical Laudato Si.
One can be contemporary and deeply committed to the care for the environment, at the same time be rooted in our Catholic values and our Catholic faith.
The initiative is a collaboration with NY Sunworks, a nonprofit organization devoted to bringing innovative science labs into urban schools. This vibrant little laboratory is dedicated to Roberta Willard, a retired teacher who was at the forefront of bringing environmental science to St. Xavier students over 3 decades ago.
Nature surrounds us and Earth is our home, and so the responsibilities that we have get passed on from one generation to the other.
Eileen Cush is part of that next generation, teaching current students about the importance of saving the environment.
Maybe they won't go out into the world and actually hydroponically farm, but perhaps they will be inspired to and become engineers, innovators.
Everything students grow will be donated to CHIPS, a Brooklyn soup kitchen founded by Catholics, which serves nearly 350 meals a day. The students of St. Xavier are now enjoying the real fruits of their labor, the chance to help save the planet in one small way while continuing to grow in their Catholic faith. In Park Slope, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
There's a lot more news headed your way on this special edition of Currents News. Brooklyn's St. John's Bread and Life is on a Lenten mission to serve thousands of people in need. New priests return to the place where their vocations were nourished. They hope to inspire vocations in the next generation. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio is here to discuss the life and legacy of a Brooklyn auxiliary bishop who returned to the Lord and the future of women in the church. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@thesalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this special edition of Currents News. A Lenten program that hopes to provide 40,000 meals in 40 days to the hungry is underway at St. John's Bread and Life, Brooklyn's largest emergency food provider. Currents News' Tim Harfman has that story.
Slicing and dicing, scooping hot food and fresh produce to help the less fortunate.
We have chicken soup today.
At St. John's Bread and Life in Bedford-Stuyvesant, the Catholic organization is on a mission. Serve 40,000 meals during the 40 days of Lent. It's called the 40-40 program.
We'll definitely surpass it, but it's a target for us.
Sister Caroline Tweedy is the executive director and says the organization hands out nearly 3,000 meals on a daily basis. Along with serving in their dining room, a mobile unit drives around Brooklyn and Queens every day. The truck heads to Coney Island and Brownsville with hot meals. Back inside, people shop for non-perishable food at digital kiosks.
Ticket number 142. Please proceed to kiosk 5.
Servers bag them supermarket style. But the 40-40 program is about more than passing a plate.
It gives us a chance to step back and pause and say, you know, we do this on a regular basis. Are we doing it with the right intentions, or are we making people aware of it?
In addition to raising awareness, the people of St. John's are also making their own Lenten sacrifices.
What we're doing is committing ourselves to one meal a week that we are giving up so that someone else can eat.
Many of us are very grateful for the blessings that we have, and part of our faith teaches us that those blessings aren't just for us, that they're meant to be shared.
80-year-old Elmore Walker survives on Social Security and takes care of his sick wife at home. He's grateful for their effort.
That helps a lot because, you know, there's a lot of people are really in need, and it's kind of hard to get this in your mind about people needing food.
Last year, St. John's Bread and Life served over 860,000 meals. Thanks to the 40-40 program, the Catholic organization's on track to serve over 1 million this year.
God bless this place to serve so many.
In Bedford-Stuyvesant, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
A pair of priests went back to school recently to mark the Lenten season. They were on a mission to inspire students at St. John's Prep in Queens. That's where the priests went to school and developed their vocations. Currents News' Emily Druby reports.
From students to priests,
fruit of the vine and work of human hands.
Father Joseph Dutan and Father Jose Diaz back at St. John's Prep.
I enjoyed my time here. It was an amazing 4 years. All my memories are still intact. Being here, walking in here, nothing has changed.
Just brings back so many memories from friendships, just everything that happened here in the school. It's it was a great time of my life. I'm very thankful.
The recently ordained priests celebrating a Lenten Mass at their alma mater. School principal William Higgins called the visit thrilling.
So it's really carrying out the mission of St. John's Prep, and we're very, very proud of them.
Father Dutan was the main celebrant, and Father Diaz gave the homily. His use of references to rap artists and pop culture went over well with students like Omar Hagar.
But this Mass, I loved it. Like, I think he's like the GOAT.
Father Dutan hopes the visit will inspire the students.
It shows them that normal people are priests. It shows them that you could be something in life. It gives them more reason to continue. It gives them more reason to fight, the good fight, and realize that God is with them, that God is not leaving them alone.
Inspiration that motivated the future priest back when he walked these halls.
At St. John's Prep was a big part of my formation. Some of the teachers, because I opened up to 1 or 2 teachers here, and they just told me, I'll keep you in prayers.
Father Diaz also inspired to join the priesthood while he was at St. John's, especially after receiving a letter from a senior year classmate, which led him to seriously think about his vocation. It's been years since they sat in these seats, but for a brief moment, Father Diaz and Father Dutan were back with the people who helped form them into the faithful leaders they are today. In Astoria, Emily Druby, Currents News.
The Diocese of Brooklyn has said goodbye to one of their own. Bishop Rene Valero made history as the first Hispanic bishop in Brooklyn, plus he did so much more. Here to talk more about Bishop Valero's life and legacy, the current Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio. Ed.
Thank you, Liz. And today we're going to talk to Bishop DiMarzio about a couple of different topics. But first, Bishop, I want to go back a couple of weeks ago. Bishop Valero passed away, and he's now in the Bishop's Crypts out in Douglaston there. Say something about Bishop Valero's place in diocesan history.
Well, clearly he was the first Hispanic auxiliary bishop to serve the diocese, and he came to it with a service previous to being bishop in Catholic Charities. He had a social work degree, worked with senior citizens, and then as bishop he became the head of the migration office. So he involved himself in helping people in the diocese, and it was a wonderful witness that he made, and was an inspiration to many people.
And of course, the last 10 years or so, he was very ill, and again, he could be an example of how to bear your suffering, right?
Certainly, he patiently bore increasingly disability. First it was Alzheimer's, and then physical disability. I mean, he was in a wheelchair, had to be fed, he couldn't feed himself. He really was debilitated, yet always with a kind of a smile, always never complaining. It was a great example of accepting life as it was.
Mm-hmm. I want to switch topics a little bit now, Bishop. You wrote a column a couple of weeks ago in the Tablet about International Women's Day and women's place in the world and in the church. There's always this clamor for women to be more involved in the church. How can we get women to be more involved, more invested in the church?
Well, women are already involved.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't have women in church, I think we would have probably 3/4 of who comes in many, many areas. But as I mentioned in the article, in our own diocese, I have a women's advisory group that when we are doing major programs or making decisions, we'd like to see what the women think. Now, there are women in, I think, substantial positions within the diocese, but there are other people from who work for the diocese as kind of an internal group, so we consult them and we get some good advice. We also have on the Diocesan Pastoral Council, which is populated, I would say, by at least 60% are women, the same kind of opportunity to ask what they think and how we can, have that feminine side of things looked at, because men don't see everything the same way, and women see other things. There's a big difference of how they view life and things and how things come across. So we need to make that important, and that consultation is important.
Because the question always comes up about women's ordination, and seems to be not so much of a question for priesthood, but there's a question about diaconate. Can women sometimes be considered to be
the commission isn't in on that yet. The Holy Father did give that back to a commission to study. As I say in the article, I even mentioned that unfortunately there doesn't seem to be any evidence that women were ever ordained to the diaconate. They acted as deaconesses. They were assisting in different ways in the life of the church. But given that we have so much documentation from the past, going back to the 3rd and 4th century, and all the liturgical books, it just doesn't exist. So as a precedent. Now, we have the wives of our deacons, of our permanent deacons, most of them participate in the same training program their husbands do. In fact, in this latest class, now that their master's degrees are being given out, I mean, they're working for them, given out, but 2 women are getting the master's degrees with their husband. So they went through the whole program. They did the papers, everything. So they would be very qualified to say if you want ordained, because they have the same training. They knew everything that the husbands know. So it's an open question. There's no resolution yet.
Good. Thank you so much.
Right.
Liz, the good news is that women still can be the anchor of our news show. So we'll throw it back to you.
Well, Ed, it is my pleasure and it is a privilege. And thank you and Bishop DiMarzio for all that insight. Still to come on this special edition of Currents News, there was a large turnout at the Brooklyn Diocese big rally for Catholic youth. The young adults shared a goal to ignite a fire. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this special edition of Currents News. They got together to ignite the faith. More than 1,000 young adults assembled as part of the Brooklyn Diocese Catholic Youth Day 2019. Currents News' Tim Harfman was there.
For 7th grader Grace Carlin, attending the 2019 Brooklyn and Queens Catholic Youth Day was an eye-opening experience.
It's kind of like incredible because you don't really know how much God has impacted anybody until you really see it.
She joined nearly 1,200 other young people for the diocese's special rally in Brooklyn's Windsor Terrace neighborhood. Their theme, Ignite. Brooklyn Auxiliary Bishop Octavio Cisneros said they were creating something exceptional.
The fire begins with one match and spreads, and I think that's what is going to happen with these young men and women from the diocese. They're going to ignite each other in the fire of the Spirit.
Bishop Cisneros celebrated Mass for the young men and women who also had the opportunity to go to confession and adore the Blessed Sacrament.
If you come as a church, he has to be the center of it all. It is Jesus that will ignite our hearts, our lives.
For Queens High School senior Tiffany Chick-Okpuzer, all of the day's activities, including live music and motivational speakers, moved her spirit.
I feel that music is like a way for everyone to just get up and just have fun. And so with music that praises God, it can make all the young people understand that church is not boring. It can actually be lively and can be fun and interesting.
Helping to rally the young people is Paul Marisi, the Brooklyn Diocese leader of youth and young adult formation.
Usually we get some young people who start off kind of sluggish, but once they hear the music, they see a bishop is here with them. There's some praise and worship opportunities. By the end of the day, they're really excited. So it's a wonderful opportunity to see that transformation in young people.
Tiffany judged the Youth Day to be a big success, and she's ready to ignite the faith when she's back at her St. Clair Parish in Rosedale, Queens.
It inspires me to continue helping others and to continue bringing other people to be able to experience the same experience that I had at these youth days.
In Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
And that is this special edition of Currents News. I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. I hope to see you again next time.